circle. Okay, so we're not going to have the debate of where, because that's a very touchy, sensitive thing, where he hits in the lineup, okay? Harold and I kind of gravitate towards the whole, he's a better middle-of-the-order bat guy, because I like athleticism, stealing bases at the top of the order. I think you're more, what works, let him hit leadoff. I like the fact that they're moving him up and down, because as you see through the stats that John Palmarosa just gave us, he's become a much improved hitter. He was feast or famine. Now he's got his identity back.
You know what? Long before he was feast or famine, Kyle Schwarber was a great hitter. I think we're seeing it again. I think he does what they ask him to do. And now I think he's back to being a great hitter. Remember 2017 when he was struggling and he was up with the Cubs? And then this is when he became a great hitter to me. I'll never forget. Through June 21st, he was hitting 171, 12 homers. It was like that. Feast or famine, 75 Ks. But this guy's going to be a really good hitter. And then he had this injury.
Yeah.
He was playing left field. He was a catcher. He went out with the injury. And when it came to the time for the World Series, he hadn't had that bat. And they said, go get the Indians with a great pitching staff. And he came back ready, and he was raking. Played a few minor league games and got ready. But once it came to the World Series, this guy was putting on a show. And I think that was the beginning of Kyle Schwarber just being a great hitter. He could flat out hit. And then 25, lefties, righties, they want him to lead off, all these things. He's always had power. It just does not surprise you with the power. I think now he's understood, I can hit this pitch, that pitch. I got bat speed for days. He's going to hit forever. But I went back and I looked at that World Series because it still stood out to me. And they brought him in that series and said, all right, you haven't had an AB. Go get Andrew Miller. Remember the Kraken?
I remember it.
And he was coming up with huge at-bats. He had a 3-for-5 game with a home run. He had a first at-bat, he hit a double. This guy can hit.
Yeah, but something happened.
Always hit.
I was really worried that he was going to become the Joey Gallo that actually worked out. And the reason I say that, he led the National League in home runs in 2022 with 46 bombs. He hit 218 that year and led the sport in strikeouts. The next year in 2023, he hit 47 home runs. And that's the stuff that gets you paid in the modern game at the time. And in 2022, that was getting you paid.
And saying the modern game, that's important because he does what needs to get paid.
And right, but I hate that. I hate, because you're right, he's a better hitter than that. So he went 46 homers in 2022, he hit 218. 47 homers in 2023, he hit 197.
And everybody's like, great job, lead him off, all
he's
right.
So much better than that.
And he knows.
And last year, he was the most improved hitter in the sport. He went from 197 to 248. That is a dramatic batting average increase.
Huge.
Now, his home runs went from 47 down to 38. But give me the 38 homer, Kyle Schwarber hitting 248.
Yeah, the biggest transition in his game from 3 years ago, way more quality at bats against lefties. He'll take the ball off of lefties and drive it the other way, doesn't get pull happy. There was a time there, say 2-3 years ago, he had a really tough go against lefties. He had a hard time laying off the breaking pitch, swinging at bad pitches, getting himself in bad counts. He grinds at bats off of lefties.
The other thing
what made me laugh when we were talking about the lineup, he hits fourth off a lefty, but he'll lead off. And I'm like, so demoted him to fourth? I mean, that's not like he's hitting ninth against a left-hander. The fourth spot is still very important in this game, even though some teams do not value that.
And the other thing, we have to remind people, one of the top 5 leadoff hitters in baseball is Trey Turner. So because Kyle Schwarber became the new face of the slugging leadoff guy, we forgot that Trey Turner is actually one of the quintessential leadoff hitters.
And I honestly believe that the reason Trey struggled that year so bad, because you didn't have him hitting where he normally hits.
I agree.
And he's trying to find an identity in a whole different place with the guy we paid $300 million for.
Well, let me ask the pitcher real quick.
That's what I didn't get.
What lineup? Now, forget let's pretend you're righty or lefty. It doesn't matter. Kyle Schwarber leading off or Trey Turner leading off? Who would you rather see?
I would rather see Turner leading off.
You'd rather face Trey Turner?
Yeah, because most of the time, pitcher trying to establish early on in the game, establish the strike zone, you know what I mean? You're going to probably get a good pitch to hit your first at bat. It puts a lot of pressure on you as a starter when the game starts. That you have to come out of the chute like locked in, laser locked in, because this guy with one swing, you could be losing 1-0.
So and with that said, Aaron Judge should be leading off for the New York Yankees.
No, I'm not. I mean, every guy's different, but it gets your attention when a guy's up there. That's why there was a period there where Ricky Henderson was the greatest leadoff hitter this game has ever seen, because you never were sure the first at bat which Ricky you were going to see. Were you going to see the one that was going to take pitches, or the guy that you're like, okay, and all of a sudden you throw first pitch fastball and he ambushes you and it's 1-0.
Sounds like Trey Turner to me.
See, but I always felt like Trey Turner reminds me of Paul Molitor so much. And Molitor leading the game off, if you threw it there, you're going to get hurt. And it didn't have to be a home run. It's a triple because he's going to steal bags. And that's what Trey Turner's going to do. It just put so much pressure.
Yeah, I love a walk that can turn into a guy standing at third base in 4 pitches. Yeah. So here now is my Greg's list. Do you guys mind if I do a Greg's list? So this list is my personal opinion. That is the crux of this Greg's list. Our quest to find out who is number 1 on Greg's list. You guys can hang out with me while we do this. And you are number 1 on Greg's list. wild. I work with all these former big leaguers, and they were like the king of their high school campus. They were the top dog, and it just like resonates off them. I couldn't imagine if any of these dudes had to share the spotlight like Jack Flaherty and Max Fried. But they're not alone. Lucas Giolito went to the same high school. They were on the same team. So it got me thinking, are they the greatest trio of high school big league teammates? You wouldn't believe what we found. Let's jump into this Greg's list. Number 9, Paul Goldschmidt's high school teammates was Kyle Drabeck. And if you go back to when they were in high school, Doug Drabeck's son was the can't-miss prospect. Kyle Drabeck was an untouchable right arm. It didn't really pan out in the big leagues for him. Paul Goldschmidt might end up in the Hall of Fame. They went to the same high school. Number 8, Lance Lynn and Drew Storen went to Brownsburg High School in Indiana. Lance Lynn had an incredible career, and Drew Storen, who was the 10th overall pick in 2009, he had 43 saves in 2011. He had a terrific career. Lynn and Storen, number 8. Number 7, the Moose, Mike Moustakas and Matt Dominguez. Remember Matt Dominguez? He was the 12th overall pick by the Marlins in 2007. He hit 21 home runs with the Astros in 2013. Obviously, Moustakas had a great run with the Kansas City Royals, played for a long time. Number 7. Number 6, I wanted to move these guys closer to number 1. Bobby Grich and Jeff Burrows. They went to Woodrow Wilson High School in California, graduated in 67. Now, Burrows was the number 1 overall pick by the Senators in 69, MVP in 1974.
I mean, their resume's got them at the top.
You would think, but wait a minute. They've got 3 guys. Jack Flaherty, Lucas Giolito, and Max Fried, all 3 on the same team?
That's great.
I love Grich, I love Burrows, but I put this trio of arms in the top 5. Now look who's in front of them. George Brett, and let's not overlook Scott McGregor.
That's pretty good.
His entire career was in Baltimore. McGregor, 83 World Series champ. He was an All-Star in 81. Obviously, George Brett's one of the greatest hitters in the history of the game. They went to the same high school. And number 3, Nolan Arenado and Matt Chapman. When you think about it, these 2 guys, who was teaching infield on this team? I mean, Arenado, 10 gold gloves at third. Chapman, 5 gold gloves. They get 8 platinum gloves between them. These are 2 of the top 5 defensive third basemen in the history of the game on the same high school team. Number 2, Frank Robinson, Kurt Flood, Vada Pinson.
And throw Bill Russell in there with them.
Oh, they think about this high school team. I mean, you have no shot if you play against this squad. What? They're number 2 and number 1. I'm sorry. Locke High School in Los Angeles. Ozzie Smith and Eddie Murray in 1973 on the same team. On the same high school team. It doesn't get any better.